Da-dun, da-dun. I need trumpets. I definitely need trumpets. Welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan. And boy, is this going to get interesting today because this is not something I expect you to just sit and watch. We're going to play the mind control detective game. Woohoo! So let's get started. There's a lot going on, so let's get started. Now, I have promised you no more boring Tuesdays. I know when I was picking a day of the week to have the show, I thought, what day do most people not have anything else going on? Tuesdays. So no more boring Tuesdays. Now, I also want to ask you, we need to get those numbers up. I need to get some support here. So if you find anything about the show useful, please sign in wherever you watch it. Please get other people you know to watch it, talk about it, share it on social media. I have a few people that actually are sharing the live stream, and I so appreciate that. This is information we all need because it's about making yourself manipulation proof. So every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and the various times across the country. It's 1 a.m. in the UK. So for all my UK insomniacs, welcome, welcome. And for the East Coast of Australia, where it's Wednesday already at 10 a.m., welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's get started. Now, first of all, it's important. I know you've heard me say this before, but I have to explain it because every week for some people, it's the first time they watch the show. And people think I'm a clinical psychologist. Nah, what I am is far more interesting than just being a clinical psychologist. Sometimes I feature clinical psychologists on the show. They actually involve complicated understandings. They add a lot of value to the program. But social psychology studies the brain and how the brain works, how we learn, how we're influenced and persuaded, manipulated and coerced, indoctrinated and brainwashed. This is why I usually have some kind of picture of an evil mad scientist accompanying the definition of what social psychology is. Because for every person like me who's bringing this knowledge to the public, there are 100 social psychologists who are working in marketing to get you to buy things you don't really need, or they're getting you to, they're working in politics, getting you vote for people that you don't really trust, or they're working in the gambling industry, getting you to spend money you cannot afford to lose. I'm on the side of the angels. I am taking you so that you can pick it up when things are going on in your life. And of course, that's what this episode today is about. And that's what this book is about. Please get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Not only will you add value to your life, you will support the network that brings you this show and this crucial information. It has the latest analysis of the Pfizer clinical documents. You know that information that they went to court to try to suppress for 75 years? Well, Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and her entire well-qualified team went through, pulled out all the key information and put it in one easy book that you can just order on Amazon. So please get your own copy. Now, today, why am I going a little fast? Because today we're talking about a really important topic. Now, this topic actually started last week. I promised you last week when we were going through the elements of mind control. Now, that wasn't all the mind control that's out there. But I picked out the 7 most common and effective tactics of social mind control, and we talked about what they look like and how they work on your brain. Now, I know, and you may know, me telling you something is great. You may find it interesting. But if you ever get trained by me, and at the end of this episode, I will give you information on how you can hire me, how your company can hire me, how your government agency can hire me. When I work with people, I use every method I know of to try to get the information embedded in your head in the parts of your brain that awaken during heightened circumstances. So when something is going on, it's all great to have logical, rational information, but if you don't put it in the correct parts of your brain, that part will go to sleep when you're emotional or when you're triggered by something fearful, lustful, hungry. And you need that information, that key information in that part of the brain so you still have access to it. One of the ways to do that, and this is something I do in all of my seminars and workshops, and that is use methods to try to make it go into those sort of parts of the brain. One of the ways is to play a game with the information. It's all well and good to just have it on the screen. Let's talk about using it. So we're going to play the mind control detective game. So get ready. Maybe you might want to take notes or just really pay attention as we go through. Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy, even when you're eating clean and exercising? It may not be burnout, it could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan MacDonald revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis. Parasites can cause inflammation, nerve damage, and long-term cognitive decline. More reason to do a full body cleanse at least once a year. The Wellness Company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus menbendazole, the gold standard parasite solution, now combined in one cleanse combo, designed to eliminate harmful invaders and support your immune system naturally. Medical grade, not some trendy herbal gimmicks. Fill out a quick intake form and get a 3-month supply shipped straight to your door. Maha is officially here, and the Wellness Company is making hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to dailyclout.health and use the code dailyclout to save $60 off plus free shipping on all orders. Cleanse your body today. Now, if you didn't get a chance, if you were busy, please understand, you probably know this already. If you go on Daily Clout, I uploaded the episode on my X feed at Dr. Dina 1. If you go to Rumble, if you go to YouTube, you can find recordings of all of these shows. And last week, we had a very important episode where we talked about elements of mind control. Please, please, please make sure you go and look at that episode. But we're going to discuss it today. We're going to take the elements of mind control, the different instruments that are used, and I'm going to ask you to put your thinking cap on. We're going to play a game so that you can remember what these are and identify it when you see it. Now, the reason for this show, have you ever wondered why certain products seem so enticing? You rush out to buy them. Well, American Eagle knows, with all the controversy and the commercials around Sydney Sweeney, it has led to an uptake in sales of hundreds of millions of dollars. If you're one of those people that rushed out, because it wasn't just that she did a good ad or that she's a lovely girl, she really is. It was the controversy where people said, you're not allowed to find her pretty. You're not allowed to find her appealing. She's natural looking. She doesn't have, blown up duck lips. You're not allowed to like that. And a lot of you said, you're not going to tell me what to do. And so the ad just took off. And we're going to be talking about it soon. I've been talking to my friend Melinda Richards, who's going to be joining me in a little while, about having a show talking about this, because my reaction when I saw the ad was, this is such a gorgeous girl. A lot of guys are going to like this. And a lot of women are going to say, whatever happened to natural beauty? Why aren't we doing that? But there are tactics being used. It's not just spontaneous. There are tactics being used. Ever wonder why? If you're one of those people that rushed out to buy the jeans while you did it, or why remembering a simple item became easier due to an ad campaign. Whoever designed this, hopefully they made enough money to retire. It was brilliant. Got milk. Okay. And every time you'd walk past the aisle, you'd be thinking, got milk? Well, wait a minute. Do I need milk? Milk sales went up, and it was just such a compelling ad. Or how about this? Now, a lot of you still don't recognize how this is being done. A lot of you are still holding on to attitudes, behaviors, values, and beliefs that have been implanted in your head. They've been embedded in your head, not based on being right and true, based on people on high, people with power deciding you needed to support these values. And so they embedded them in everything you can think of, from news shows to books to TV shows. This originally was one of my favorite shows, Law and Order SVU. But even by season 2 and 3, I was having to skip episodes. I started rewatching it because I like watching old content because it's not as woke. But I'm having to skip episodes. I'm looking at the topics and knowing how they approach it. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And the more you get to know the main characters and admire them and even identify with them, the more their acceptance of values goes into your brain as though it's happening in your real life. Please know your brain doesn't understand what a TV is. So we're going to be playing the mind control detective to help you really figure out how you've been influenced. And then over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about ways to shield yourself so it's not happening as much, and how you can start reversing some of that control. The American healthcare system is broken. Big Pharma charges an arm and a leg for their products, while insurance companies are focused on growing healthcare spending. So I'm always researching ways to take care of myself naturally. And one of the most overlooked factors is improving your blood flow. That means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. I use Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon. It works by boosting nitric oxide levels up to 230% and opening arteries up to 62% to improve blood flow. With just 1 dose a day, just 2 capsules with or without food, it's helped improve my stamina, energy, focus, and supports my heart health, all without caffeine or stimulants. It's doctor formulated, scientifically backed, with premium and natural ingredients. Look, I wouldn't share it if it didn't work for me. Go to www.bloodflow7.com/Daily Clout, or click the link in the description below the video to learn more today. So, for all of you just joining us, we're playing a game, and all along, the reason you see these slides, the reason we're going to even talk about the imagery in the slides today, because it helps you remember the information and use it when you need it. Awareness of the fact that we are all subject to influence, persuasion, manipulation, and coercion. All of us. If you've watched the show before, you've heard me say the first thing they said on my first day of grad school in Stanford. The professor stood in front of the room and said, guess what? Knowledge of a phenomenon does not make you immune to its effects. And I was like, why am I learning all this if it's not going to help me? That's just step 1. You have to use the knowledge. And finding a way to use it like this, by playing a game, by role playing, all of the things I do in my work, it embeds the knowledge even further. And importantly, this is where me being a social psychologist counts. It embeds it in the parts of the knowledge that of the parts of the brain that awaken during heightened circumstances. A lot of the programs that we have out there have not worked to alter human behavior. They have not improved things. If you look at the statistics on domestic violence from 2005, they're the same as they are now. In fact, they may actually be higher now because the abuse of men has increased. Why haven't all those programs worked? Because they put the knowledge the wrong way in the wrong part of the brain. We're going to do better than that because the marketers sure know how to do it. The people trying to influence our culture sure know how to do it. And I want you to know how to do it too. And I want you to be able to protect yourself. So, using the key knowledge by playing this game, this isn't, play along. Think of examples yourself. If you are watching this on any platform live, please sign in to the platform and then you can leave me comments, questions. I get the same people commenting and offering questions, and that's great. I'm glad to have them here, like Nikki, but I need all of you to let me know what's really going on. How is this affecting you? Now, how do you play the game today? We're going to help you detect the types of mind control by using examples that are in our environment. So it's not you just looking at a screen and saying, oh, this does this and this does that. No. So we're going to gather the clues so you can figure out how you've been influenced, how the people around you have been influenced. We started off a few weeks ago. And in fact, I started off last week saying, I keep seeing people posting, if you tell people how they've been deceived by the COVID data and all the propaganda, why don't you show them the facts that belie the propaganda? Why do they still insist on staying captured? Why do they still believe it? It's mind control. So today we're going to have you gather the clues. Now, let's start with the first one. You're shopping and you pick up an item without much thought. Later, the jingle, the slogan, or something from the ad starts playing in your mind, probably while you're unpacking your groceries, or perhaps while you're eating it, or one of your kids comes in and says, can I have that? And they start singing the song from the ad, they sing the jingle. Here are some other examples. Coca-Cola is known for having really powerful ads. Lay's potato chips launched into popularity by saying, bet you can't eat just one. And they had whole marketing campaigns for years where they showed people trying to eat just one Lay's potato chip. And then McDonald's, another company with really powerful ads. And then you hear it, and then you realize you know that ad, you know that jingle. You didn't think you did. You thought you ignored the ad. You tried to stay away from free-to-air TV. You thought, how do I know that? Why is that in my head? Here's the first clue to mind control. Understand, we have a layered brain. It has a conscious mind. That's the part that's listening. That's the language-based problem-solving part that's paying attention, that's playing this game. But we also have a subconscious and an unconscious. And here's how it works. Ads and messaging are usually aimed at your subconscious and unconscious like a sneaky spy. Now, you'll notice at the top, there's new data that shows the conscious mind isn't 10%, it's between 5 and 10%. The bulk of your life choices, especially those made spontaneously, are made through decisions and influences that are in your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind. So you have to be aware that even when you think you're blocking something out, even when you think you're not paying attention, there are forces in your environment that are influencing you. You need to know that. If you're like me and you're getting to that age where your body just hurts all the time, then listen up. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing, not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you'd find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, but it stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it on a regular basis, I really noticed a difference. But again, you can't just take any old turmeric. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, just go to goldenrevive.com/dailyclout. The link is right below this video in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards a pain-free, healthier life. Hey, Melinda.
Hey, how are you?
How's life on the Gold Coast of Australia? Welcome to this wonderful episode. We've missed you as you've been traveling around the world.
Oh, well, it's actually a stunning day today. So I'm so grateful because, of course, over the weekend, it wasn't so stunning. So when we get our blue skies in wintertime here, there's nothing better. So very happy.
Oh, good. It's good to see you. This is a really interesting topic because I'm giving some clues, and I want every time somebody gets a clue, I want you to don't just listen to what I say. I want you to think in your own life, okay, where am I picking this up? So we talked about, as you saw in the previous episode, in the previous little part, we talked before about some types, the easiest type, understanding that your brain has multiple levels. Even just knowing that can help protect you. Because too often people think, if I reject something with my conscious mind, if I say no, if I let my kids watch this harmful content, but we talk about it, then I'm protecting them. And the fact of the matter is, no, that's not true. Understanding that most of your life choices are made with your subconscious and your conscious mind, smart people become a lot more careful about what we allow to be in our environment, period, because we're going to talk about how you're influenced by it all. Now, let's talk about here's our next little area. Clue. Okay. You see in here the same scripted lines repeatedly in a range of contexts.
Yes.
Now, this got really bad during COVID, where it didn't matter what TV show you watched, what news program you watched, what world leader you watched, what accent they had. They were saying the exact same thing about COVID, the vaccine, and people who refused the vaccine, word for word.
I love that time when they put all of those news. Oh, you've got that on the slide there where they all actually said the same thing. That was very, very clever. And I think there was one where there's even more than that.
Oh yeah, there are. This is
It's
I had to be able to fit the writing, so I had
yeah,
to shorten it. But
that to
huge.
me, I showed people that, and I'm like, do you see now? Do you understand? Can you see this? Do you get it? It's a script. Yeah, I couldn't even get through to people with occasionally I would show them that, and I couldn't even get through on that. But the same words, the exact same words coming out of their mouth all over the world, just globally. That was fascinating.
Well, but the thing is, once you noticed it, once you awakened and you
Yes.
realized that we were being flooded with propaganda,
Yeah.
some people decided to go back into the matrix and they decided to say it was just COVID, it was an emergency, people were afraid, they just did the best they could. I'm going to ignore all the money being made by all the world leaders who forced their people to get vaccinated. How they went from being worth a few $100,000 like Jacinda Ardern next door in to you, Melinda, over in New Zealand.
Yes.
She went from being worth a few $100,000 to being worth over $20 million in 2 years. And it wasn't just her. If you look at the net worth of all the world leaders who were pushing the vaccine, with the exception of Trump, I think Trump was just led astray because he didn't make money out of any of this stuff, but everybody else did. And our doctors, our physicians, our healthcare providers were being paid to vaccinate us. And once you start looking, excuse me, you start looking and see that they're getting paid for childhood vaccines too. Once
Look,
you awaken, you stay
when
awake.
your eyes follow the
Stay
money,
awake.
when your eyes were open to all of the money, and when anyone talks to me about anything going on globally, the first thing I say is follow the money, and then we can talk about it. Was when you know where the money is, and when you know where the money's going, then you're able to sort of unwind all of the propaganda, and you can start to unwind the messaging and get to the heart of the matter and get to the truth.
Well, also, it's when we're talking about scripts, and we're talking about this perception of a person, a group, a set of values. It can be spoken like it was on the news. It can be written like it was in the news and on all the shows. But they can also use imagery. Imagery with nothing written, like you see with all the pride flags everywhere. The progress, they call that the progress pride flags, with the pride flags everywhere. That's giving a very direct message as well. Seeing diversity as our strength written everywhere. And one of the things I started noticing back in the early 2000s, working for the courts in California, I just started to, well, I am a social psychologist. I just started to notice that every time I watched a show and they talked about illegal immigration, they always used this line: they just want a better life, over and over and over and over again. And they always made anyone who objected out to be the bad guy. They never talked about the costs socially. They never talked about the financial cost. They never talked about the drain on infrastructure and resources. They never talked about the exponential increase in crime. They didn't talk about the destruction, and still don't talk about the destruction of social cohesion.
Yes.
You cannot have a culture that works if people don't speak the same language and if they don't share the same fundamental. And it was never mentioned. And anybody who would even suggested it was so blacklisted. It was terrible. So what are
And then
we talking about?
even today, now that all of the mass immigration has occurred in the last 20 years and really ramped up in the last 10 to 15 years, even now, with all of the negative results throughout Western civilization from this immigration, and now that it's I think we reached the tipping point, even now, people are still being yelled at as racist and intolerant for questioning and for wanting to maintain their core culture and core values. It's incredible that they're still holding on to that narrative that you're racist, you're this, you're that. The name calling around immigration is still today.
Well,
Even after,
as you know, Melinda, because we're friends, this is one of the reasons I feel obligated to speak up. Because
yes,
as a Black woman, as a social scientist with a doctor from Stanford, and I got it with no DEI, okay, as a social scientist, as a Black woman, you can't just dismiss my concerns and my data as racist. It's not.
it's not at
It is
all.
based on solid science.
You have every right, no matter what color your skin is, you have every right to not have cultural dilution of your values and your core values and the behaviors that you expect in society. You have every right to expect that they will not be diluted into the negative. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. And it's got nothing to do with race or skin color or hair color. It has everything to do with values and behaviors, but still the indoctrination, and this is why this show is just so fascinating, you know, even when you can actually see it happening before your eyes, it's a lived experience, particularly here in Australia and the UK and the US, you know, I mean, it's a lived experience for people, and yet you still have that core fight on your hands that you are apparently not allowed to say anything about anyone whose skin isn't white. You're not allowed to even breathe a word about it. And
You know,
that is such a deep, I think I love the whole subconscious, unconscious thing, because I don't even know where it's coming from now. And I mean, maybe it's just this, they're so far gone, so indoctrinated that there's just this inability to change their mind.
well, also, once people grasp a value or or take a position, especially if they do it publicly, we are all disinclined to change our minds. And one of the things that we need to have a show where I talk about, are you on the right side or the wrong side? You know, are you in the wrong? And one of the biggest ways you can tell if you are in the wrong is hypocrisy. Now, what you see is anybody who is from a non-majority white culture is allowed and celebrated for, you know, being proud of their culture, wanting to spend time with culture, but white people aren't allowed. Now, anytime you have hypocrisy, and it's like, you know, I don't know if you can see, but I have some blonde braids in there because my hairdresser thought it would add some visual interest.
I love it.
I feel fine. I feel fine about wearing it because I think anybody should be able to wear any hair they want. But the same women who you have these Democrat women, these Black women that are yelling at white women for wearing braids when every culture had some kind of braids. They're yelling at them for wearing braids, but they will celebrate Beyonce, who bleaches her skin and bleaches her hair to be as pale as possible. And they
Yeah.
don't say anything about it. So one of the ways is hypocrisy. But here's something that I think, because I'm just with this game, the clues that we're talking about, look to see where you're getting a single approach, a single narrative. LGBTQ is always from a positive, sympathetic view from mainstream media. They will celebrate middle-aged men in short skirts who look horrible. They will celebrate when ugly fat boys win beauty contests. Anything LGBTQ is always from a positive, sympathetic view. Trump is called the names listed over and over and over again. Felon, Nazi, racist, rapist, king, and dictator. They put so many millions of dollars and so much effort to convict Trump of something so that they could call him a felon. And by the way, I had to share this with you. When I found this, I wanted to share this with my audience. This is a real item. It is a Trump voodoo doll. They sell it on Etsy. You can get and an Elon Musk one too.
No
But they
way.
a Trump voodoo doll.
Oh.
When you see stickers or people keep repeating taglines like mantras, love is love. And you see that love is love, love wins, love. This is a way of putting that information in your mind. And anytime you see the news, especially in the UK, because unlike the other English speaking countries, the United States decided to take our power back and elect somebody who's standing up for us. The other English speaking countries are in terrible shape. And
Yeah.
anybody who stands up for the mainstream culture that built those nations is called alt right
Yeah.
because they know nobody wants to be called a Nazi. So, what is this? This is saturation. When you see it all the time, everywhere, from all these different contexts, why do they do it? Because they know how the brain works. The brain will believe, normalize, and adapt if it consistently exposed to information. And again, even if your conscious mind is objecting, if you continue to expose yourself or be exposed, a part of you will soften your attitude towards whatever that is. Why it works. The illusory truth effect. A brain saturated with information from a single perspective, it's like what happens when you spend the weekend binge watching something on Netflix. I don't know about you. If I binge watch something, anything from old EastEnders episodes that I started watching EastEnders when I lived in the UK, or Law and Order or whatever, I dream about it that night. I dream I'm actually in an episode. I dream I'm with those characters. It actually goes into my subconscious mind. And even more insidious, can become convinced something is true, not because there are any credible facts to back it up, but because you've been exposed to 50 different sites, 50 different people in 50 different ways telling you that it's true. There are so many things. We could do an episode, if I weren't afraid of still being canceled, we could do a whole episode on things that a lot of people still believe and buy into, where if you actually look at it rationally, logically, and factually, it's not true at all. But you still get censored and beaten up for saying so. Okay, let's try another one, because so we had the brain having more than one level, two of which you have no control over, because I will tell you, I talk about the brain in my work. When I do my education and training, we spend some very accessible, fun ways to help people understand how the brain works. And we talk about the fact that the two parts of the brain, the subconscious, unconscious, have no filter. They will take in, accept, and adapt to anything they're exposed to. That's how they're designed. So you don't want to buy into a belief set, you have to make sure you're not exposed to it. You have to kind of be a social Amish, where the Amish don't have the technology. They stay away from this stuff because they know. Okay, so you don't notice the billboards and the ads and your morning walk or run, or the magazine covers at the store. You don't think you pay attention to those, or the ads at the bus stop as you're walking down the road, or the notice board at work. You just pass it by. You don't stop and look. You don't pay any attention. And then you notice you're buying an item from the ad, or you're repeating a message that you later realize you got from the notice board at work to explain your behavior or why you're supporting something. Clue 3, peripheral messaging. This is why I am not, first of all, if you know this show, you know I'm not tolerant. I don't preach tolerance at all. Tolerance is passivity, and it gets you into trouble, because we can't afford to just say live and let live. Let these people live like they want. No, they have a powerful impact on us. They have a powerful impact on our children. Peripheral messaging works. It's why advertisers pay so much money to get that little wiggly video at the bottom of the screen when you're reading the article that they post. A lot of blogs and things will have an interesting article, and then you click on it and it's got all these little videos on the page. and you think you're ignoring them. When I see that, I immediately turn it off. I stop reading because I know if my eye even captures any of that visual imagery, that information is going to go to my brain. And when they've done studies, they found we're more positively predisposed towards the products that we see advertised out of the side of our eye, towards behaviors that we see promoted out of the side of our eye. It actually influences you. Peripheral messaging is one of the scariest things in social psychology, although advertisers love it. It's telling you to buy this, believe this, do this. And your brain says, okay. Your brain registers everything in your environment, even if you don't focus your conscious mind on it, which is one of the reasons I do a very accessible brain training at the beginning of my seminars and workshops. You have to know how your brain works, or you will not understand how somebody can influence you. And it's why, even with my education, I have to be careful. Now, Melinda, before we move on, you got any examples of this peripheral influence? Anything that you didn't?
Before 2020, I think I was probably feeling that I was relatively awake and that I was able to control my environment a little bit better than I obviously did. It wasn't till I guess, woke up and with a jolt in 2020 that I realized that things were grim. But not only that, that I had actually been taken down a pathway on a couple of things that I believed in that then got completely smashed in front of my eyes. And I don't know how that happened. I was just a true believer in, say, let's just use an example, vaccinations. I was a preacher of vaccines. I had the full script. I talked about smallpox and I talked about polio and I talked about diseases being wiped out and all sorts of things around vaccinations, not understanding the evolution of them, the history of them, who invented them, what's in them. I didn't really know, not really. Yet I was preaching to someone who tried to tell me that vaccines are actually quite dangerous these days, and that was back in 2018 and 2017. And I don't know where I got that information from about vaccines. To this day, I can't actually tell you all the specific sources. So it must have been in my environment. I must have been hearing it everywhere I went. Obviously, I then got fully vaxxed myself, and I was, right up to date with different things, tetanus, and I'd had my inoculations at school. But where did I get that information from? I didn't go to the doctor every week. I never talked to the doctors about it. So yes, that for me is the really big number one example for me in my life. And it's the biggest example of, I wish I'd known then what I know now, but I wish I had been more open and understood what you're talking about today. I wish I had understood that a lot better 20 years ago. And as a young adult, I think young adults need this information because they need to understand how their mind works and then what they're happy to bring in and out. And that's really what I work on now. What am I happy to receive? And what do I know intuitively now, based on experience, that I need to bat away? And you've provided so many clues today. The repetition, everyone's saying the same thing, the propaganda, these are all really big clues for everybody to go, no, that's in that box, that's in the propaganda box. Oh, I just heard every single other news channel or commercial radio station saying that exact thing, that's got to be batted away. So this is absolutely brilliant.
Well, let's talk about another. Let's do a little bit more detection here. You're watching TV while you're on the treadmill. And if you watch the story while you're struggling, if you haven't worked out for a while, roll dice, here we go. It makes the time pass more quickly. So you're like, oh yeah, it's nice to watch a show while I'm doing that, or watch the news and catch up on that, what's going on. And then you also maybe think about it, everybody. You notice that when you watch the news on something, that it's kind of easy to remember the details to talk about in the kitchen at work. Everybody getting coffee or whatever. It's like, oh, so and so happened, or did you hear this, or what's going on? And you're like, oh, yeah, I heard about that. And you feel informed because you can remember the information. Yeah, messaging while moving. If you are active, your brain processes the information differently. Ooh, 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 this is scary. So they know that. And it's why they put all of those billboards and things in a shopping center. You're rushing through the shopping center trying to get from one store to the next, and they've got something advertising this or advertising that. Why? Why would they pay for that? The store's right around the corner. Because they know while you're moving around, rushing around, while your conscious mind is focused elsewhere, they have easy access to your subconscious. You're you're more likely to remember information if you're active and moving when the information comes to you. Your brain goes into higher alert and more parts of your brain become involved. It becomes more receptive, like a detective chasing a lead. And it's one of the reasons that when I want to learn information, I will read the book, a book I can hold. Now, I often have electronic books. I use those when I travel. It's convenient. But if I want to learn the information, I get a paperback copy or a hardback copy of the book because the brain takes that information more seriously. And then I also get it in audio version, and I listen to the audio while I go for my walks by the water every night, while I'm walking around, while I'm doing housework, while I'm moving, because more parts of the brain get involved. It's one of the reasons when you take my seminars and work, especially the workshops, we do role play, we do work, we anything you need to know, we make a little rhyme and we move our bodies while we do it because your brain will process that stuff on more levels. But realize I want you to have control of what you put in your brain. I'm tired of other people controlling us. I feel like we are in the matrix and we are being controlled. I want to stop and help you. Okay. Here's something I run into all the time. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with it in my seminars because I always get people to move around. I use some NLP, some role play. I make people laugh. I use imagery. Your attention wanders when you attend meetings written with bullet point lists. You ever noted that? You start going, okay, this is interesting and I need to know it, but did I remember to put that back in the refrigerator? Oh, I should probably get some more on my way home. And you're thinking about everything else. If they have videos, if they've got like bold, bright imagery, if they say, okay, stand up, change over here, look at this person, say this, do this, then you get involved. Then you're not falling asleep. Why is that? Picture superiority. Anything that is visually stimulating, it takes that information that's alongside it and it embeds it more deeply in your brain, which is why I spend so many hours, folks. This is why I said you need to spread this info. I put some real information here. I could actually take, by the way, everyone, thank you for joining me and being here. Next week, it will be 1 year. Okay. Next week is my anniversary, episode 50. Woohoo! I can teach this as a class. Anybody wants to hire me to do a class, now's your time. Because, of course, once I get more than one offer, the cost goes up. Somebody be bold, somebody at a small university, someplace that doesn't have a lot of snow, contact me. I've lost my snow chops. I mean, I don't mind if it snows a little. But I have a sister who lives in Minnesota, and those 8-month winters, no. But this is why I spend so much time on the show. Not only do I want to get this information out there, but if we have something visually stimulating, you're more likely to remember the information that's next to it. So when you see something bright and bold, ads, messages, when it captures your attention, when they have those funny videos, the whole thing about American Eagle, they put a really gorgeous, natural looking girl who looks nothing like what everybody else is advertising. Everybody else is promoting fat, ugly, thick makeup, plastic surgery face, and you have this natural looking, gorgeous girl, and she's just walking around, moving around, and it captures your attention visually, which means you remember it has a much stronger impact. Why it works. More areas of the brain are activated when you have visuals, and especially if they're moving. When I'm in my workshops and seminars, we use videos. I know I use still imagery here only because we're short on time. But in my own seminars and workshops, I will have videos going, things bright, bubbly, for the information I really want you to remember. Your brain is enthralled by visuals. Often, if something has a product has a visually compelling image, you never forget it. Never. It stays in your brain for the rest of your life. Okay. Never do slides for a show while you're hungry. Oh man, like, oh my God. But I didn't go because I was too busy. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna go. But I was so hungry. And then I come across this. I was looking for really compelling ads. And it's so easy to look at the sex part. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk about sex stuff a lot. But what about hunger? Hunger will get you too. And they have these ads, and where like they have the dripping chocolate coming down, or the sizzling chicken, or the burger with the cheese melting down the stuff. Oh God, I'm still hungry. But anyway,
Oh my God, I'm getting hungry now. I have to go.
I know, horrible. You see the ad and you immediately decide to buy the product. Okay, audience, anybody have that happen? Yeah. Or something you see or read gets you searching for a local protest or boycott, like Calvin Klein deciding to put a fat black trans identifying woman in their underwear ad. I don't want to see that. No, that's offensive to the eye. And Jaguar, their CEO had to resign after they lost 90%. Their sales were declined by more than 90%.
Yeah.
Because Roscoe, hey Roscoe, it went down by 90%.
Deservedly so. Deservedly so.
Yes. Sometimes you're like, that's offensive. And of course, I have somebody here saying a real fishing life said he's a freedom fighter. I'm assuming you're he. If you're a she, tell me please. People using this platform X, using Rumble, Daily Cloud, even YouTube, to fight back against the influence and taking us down a destructive road. So we're kind of active. A lot of people will just say, ugh, I'm not looking at that, and turn away. We look at it and go, okay, where do we protest? Where do we boycott? Okay. So what is going on when we have that kind of visceral reaction? The ad has been designed to trigger primal drives. They're using stimulating or controversial images alongside an ad or message. One thing happens, like the visual imagery before, you certainly remember it. But here, you don't just remember it, you have a reaction to it. And they do that on purpose. Why it works. Sex sells. Ask American Eagle. Their company revenue went up $400 million.
Oh,
what were you saying? I'm sorry, Melinda. What are you saying?
Just as soon as that image came up, I thought, oh my God, I remember that. And I didn't even see it that many times, but it was so memorable that Bud Light put him on as the poster child for their ad campaign. I just couldn't even believe it. I mean, it's just there's a lot of layers to why.
Well, what they are also trying to do is remember, we've talked before about attention, that anything you give attention to is being promoted. So they are promoting these values. And when you see it everywhere, again, they're hoping that it would influence the part of your brain that starts to see prevalence as truth. They're hoping to influence that. And Nettie said something also that I'm just going to interject here because I think it's really important. Vaccines are used for behavior modification. I have to tell you, Dr. Naomi Wolf has been looking at this for a long time, not only at the impact of the vaccines on fertility, but also that people are noting that the people who are highly vaccinated are starting to behave differently. That's a whole different conversation. But let's talk about why getting you to primally react to something. They did the same thing with COVID. They made you so afraid. They had actors they paid to look like they were dying. The Chinese promoted COVID by having people walk down the street and just spontaneously die. Now that happened, but not from COVID. It happened from the vaccine. When they hide that as much as possible. But provoking your base instincts arouses the amygdala. The amygdala is, if you cut through the center of your brain, go right in there, it's your emotions, things like breathing, unconscious things you don't think about. Your primal drives are in the back of your brain. That's your reptilian brain. That's the primal drives. But it all provokes that. The sexual arousal, the hunger, all of it, it provokes it, and it screams to you, take action now. It makes whatever it is look like an imperative. And even if you're able to talk yourself down, the power that ad, that campaign, that visual image had on you is lasting. And of course, it can be lasting in the other way too, because again, I'm so proud of being American. Because unlike other countries, we have fought back. The Bud Light just, oh my God, it just crashed them. They put Dylan Mulvaney, he's not even really trans. He's just a gay guy with pathological narcissism and histrionic personality disorder. He's just somebody who has a dire need to be the center of attention no matter what. And when he started dressing in women's clothes, that's when trans became trendy. So he got attention for it, so he kept going.
He's made a lot of money. When you see the brands that jumped on board, when he started to do this and get so much attention, so many brands jumped on board. I think most of them are probably gone now, but he would have made a whole bunch of money doing and having that personality disorder that you just mentioned, and then riding the woke wave. I mean, that's when woke.
Well, I would also say, if he has close trends, they need to keep an eye on him, because once trans isn't trendy, and we are working to make it less so, once trend isn't trending, he's going to be, if he doesn't get the attention that he's gotten used to, he's either going to detransition and or he's going to have mental health breakdowns. He's at risk of a breakdown. So if you're around him, watch out for him. But I don't like what he's promoting. Now let's look at another one. You find an ad appealing and you can't figure out why. Or watching it generates feelings in you don't really link with the product or the brand. You're like, why is that making me feel like I want to go out? Clue 7, subliminal suggestion. Using subtle words or images not intended to be noticed by your conscious mind. You see the one where we have the gin there, where they actually wrote sex very subtly in the ice cubes? But your brain picked that up. So you're out at night and you're hoping to meet somebody, or you're with a date, and for some reason you don't get your usual drink. You get a gin and tonic with this gin because you associate it with sex. So, and Roscoe says he doesn't like something. What don't you like? What? Tell me. You didn't finish the sentence. Now, why does subliminal suggestion work? Your brain decodes everything in your environment. And then it acts like a ninja to quietly plant information in your mind. And if you don't get it out of there quickly, it then goes on to influence your thoughts, values, beliefs, behaviors. Yeah, we are surrounded by some really scary stuff. So how did you do? When we talked about this, were you a good detective? Can you think of examples of all of this stuff that you've come across that you actually noticed? If you didn't, that's okay, because you'll notice it now, okay? I want you all to stay sharp. You need to check out your environment and the media. Look out for attempts to influence you because they're everywhere. And look out, especially right now, look out for those scripted lines and those forced imageries where they're trying to force you to buy into and believe something that goes against your core values. Don't buy into it. Any question or comments, you can contact me here, of course, but you can also go on my X site. Now, here's something else. I just heard from my website designer. So as of next week, my website, I've new and improved, Ethical Strategic Solutions. That's my company. You can hire me. You can hire my company. We pride ourselves on having smarter tools for measurable change and lasting impact. And here are the 3 flagship programs we have: the Unmasking the Abuser, which is a domestic violence prevention and improved response program; Healing the Rift, a non-political, unifying anti-bias program; and Gambling Harm Reduction. So, screenshot, contact me, and let's work together to improve something. If you are in charge of something and you hire me, you're going to get the credit for it because you're going to actually see a difference, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, unlike most programs where they just keep giving the same thing year after year and nothing ever changes. So thank you, Melinda, for joining me. Thank you, audience. If you want to ask me a question, you need my help, here's my email address, drdinablog@gmail.com. Go on X. I'm at @drdina1. Really easy. As of the 11th of August, ethicalstrategic.com, or my old email address, www.drdinamcmillan.com, also will take you to the same place. I arranged it so that they both go. Roscoe, I'm so glad you could join us. Nettie is always so helpful. Everybody else that made a comment, contact me, and if you have something you want to say, you want to be a guest on the show, and we can talk about this. Now, please join me next week for my 1-year anniversary show. I'm going to cover some of the topics that have been the most popular, and I hope you'll join me too, or contact me and let me know what you want me to talk about. And Melinda, you and I have to discuss some things because you came up with some good ideas before the show. And I think
there's a lot going on. Things are shifting. And I think, these sorts of shows and these discussions are really helping that shift. And I think it's extremely positive. Great show. Thanks so much for having me again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Remember, no more boring Tuesdays.
Bye.